Yeah, so I want to talk about the Gangstalkers, what they did. They destroyed this garden here, which I had planted, and they were maliciously attacking it. I planted it last August, and since then they've done so many things. There's so many things for them to do in here, but they just leave their weeds alone. My stuff, they have to, whatever I'm doing anywhere, they have to mess with it. They have to come and mess with it. And this creature, this is her area, one of their areas, but those are probably the nicest sunflowers in here, and she's so happy for herself. But mine are all dead. Like almost everything that I planted in here was killed by these assholes, and they were lying about it, and they knew about it. And it's interesting, like her shitty garden was so much shittier. Like I was watering this garden, the ground, in all the heat, so it's actually watered. What they did was, even their own stuff, they would be watering it in the noon sun because they're stupid and they're evil. Really, they're stupid, evil people. They weren't just doing that to my area. They were doing it to their areas, killing everything. And their stuff was completely looking. She has stopped doing that, okay? She has stopped doing that. It's growing, because when they do that, they're killing everything. Stuff they don't touch grows. Like, you know, there's like a foulness in these people, because everything they say is a lie, you know? I first met them, not everything they said, because the person, she said, one of the people, is like, everything she touches dies. Everything she tries to grow dies. And I go, well, then you stop touching things. Like, at least stay in your lane. Don't, touch your own things, but don't be going and around putting your hand on everything. If you're killing everything, contain yourself. But she didn't want to do that. And none of them wanted to do that. They all have to go put their hand they're just evil. They're really just evil people. It's like, I'm really offended, because there was like a 4-year window where I could grow gardens without tampering. And then they're like, whoa, we can't let him do this. We have to destroy all of his gardens. We cannot allow him to grow gardens anywhere, because they're nice and they don't want me to have anything in life. That's what they're doing. They're really shitty people. There's like watermelons in here, and there's only 3, but I planted a whole bunch of watermelons, and they haven't grown in over a month's time. Like, why? Because they were watering this on essentially a daily basis in the noon sun, between 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock. And, very bad thing to do. And almost no sprouts grew in here. Almost everything that's in here that's growing had sprouted in April, and they've been stunting it constantly. So everything in here is like kind of sickly and surviving, and there's very little stuff in it. It seems like there's stuff in here, but it shouldn't be like this. It should be very different, and it's not okay. It's not okay. And it's like, this is it bothers my soul to look at, and it's nothing to really look at. It's offensive. But what it would have been, most likely, would have been something, oh yeah, this is an example of something nice. This is a nice, this is a thing that you can emulate, because it's worth doing. It's worth doing this way. This is not really worth doing. This is like pathetic. That's what they want to do. They want to bring it to a level of pathetic, and then they're happy with it because they're evil. They're evil people. And from the beginning, I told them, really, I'm only here because every garden I was doing, I had a 4-year window when I can grow gardens. But after that, doesn't matter. They're going to find them. They're going to destroy them. One thing these Gangstalkers were doing, worth noting, they were throwing hops in my gardens just to let me know they were there. You know what I'm saying? They would throw, so hops, it's a sometimes naturally occurring plant, but not every time. He's not going to be there every time. But this means that the people, who are doing that, amongst others, were of a particular thing. That's them. Other things that they would do, gaslighting. It's psychological warfare. But the witches of the world, the evil ones. Okay, they're running the Catholic Church and all the other churches. They're they're everywhere. But one of the things they would do also would be planting daturas and pumpkins nearby where I'd see them. Just to let them know that they're watching me. There's a daturas and pumpkin, and they would be like, just sickly and weak and whatever. But just to let me know that I'm being, monitored by these narcissistic, selfish people. Here I am, speaking out against Gazan genocide, speaking out against election fraud, speaking out against medical tyranny. Lots of different foulnesses, like, the music industry. What is it? It's a racket by a bunch of satanic perverts. Is it? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Okay? So, I don't want to hear the halcyon boomers tell me about what music and music isn't, what music is and music isn't. Well, what it is a bunch of narcissistic control freaks controlling our society. Okay? What it isn't is a cultural progress and diversity. That's not what it is. So it would be nice to have, like, venues that are popular. I'll give you an example of what I understand. A friend of mine, or some people I knew, they had started their own venue in like a studio designated area in a college town, and they had like sometimes like five shows a month with, like, multiple bands on the show. Like maybe 20-30 people a month come up to their place to perform, and it became the beat. It became like the only real music scene in the country, as far as I'm concerned. It really is. It really was. And that was something they had done, and it was very organic. It was very real, because that's the energy that it was about. It wasn't about political control and narcissism and social corruption of society. It was just about music and people being creative and sharing and expressing their joy in life, which is absent from the music industry. Most places there is, like, some scene here and there's some scene there. I'll admit that there's, but it's mostly being quashed, and they don't want people to have consciousness. They want people to be primal, evil creatures. That's really what they're looking for. And music's a very important control tool for them, and they don't want any other culture to be acceptable. And at this point, like, it's so perverted and so universal. It's just like there's so little resistance to their extreme dominance of society and culture through their music industry control, whatever you want to call it. But it's sickening, because you can see that what is popular, organically popular, is pretty easy to cultivate. But what happens is these busybody gangstalker type people lock it down and shut it down. That's what they do. And that's what they did with that place, actually. That place, they shut it down because the originators of it had left, and then the people who took over, I was offered, I missed that opportunity. I should have taken it. They offered it to me. I should have taken it. I was really stupid not to have. What a fool. I just looked at him and was like, what was I thinking? That was a missed, opportunity. But what they did, someone else took over for them, but they shut it down. They said, we're going to zone out. There was some people complaining because, across the way it was too loud, and they wanted to have a curfew, even though it was designated for noise. They got shut down. But you got to think about, like, what kind of jerk off is going to be fussing about that. I know exactly what kind of jerk off it was. It was little hat people. I guarantee you it was little hat people.